Alrighty, welcome back. Another episode of Post-Fades Cheesesteaks. Today we're doing the top 10 quarterbacks heading into 2025. Always in a hot debate, especially with a lot of lists nowadays. We got, Cam Newton giving his 2 cents, and the NFL execs had a poll, and their list was interesting. But as always, we have Nick joining us for our quarterback ranks, our resident QB expert. What's going on, Nick?
It's another year. I was going through my early stats, and I had separate tabs for Drew Brees and
Mm,
Deshaun Watson and Carson Wentz and Matt Ryan when we started this. So
that
we've come a long way.
those are some,
Wow, that's a fearsome foursome right there.
yeah. I was thinking about that too because I was looking at some stuff like as far as like quarterbacks and who they had around them, and I was like, we started like just at the end of like Big Ben being relevant too, and some of these other guys, and I mean we had Russell Wilson was like I think number one or maybe top two for some of us
Yeah,
like the first time
number
we
two.
did
I
it.
had I had him number two first
Yeah,
time we did this.
way back when. I wonder
Mhm.
if I have my let's see my 2020 list.
Dun, dun,
Yeah, I had Russ two, Breeze number three, and Rogers number four, and all three of those guys are not on
that
my.
aged well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, Stafford's still he's still kicking.
yeah.
Watson was number seven in 2020 on my list. Wentz was six.
Yeah, my
Matt
oldest
Ryan.
one, I've got 21, was Mahomes, Rogers, Brady, Allen, and Wilson. So, I mean, that aged a little bit better than yours did.
Well, I do remember my first. Since this is our fifth year of doing these, I do remember causing some drama the first time we did it because I didn't have Brady.
Yeah,
That was
that
an
was
honorable
that
mention.
was that was
That
that
was
was
a horrible call.
ludicrous.
To be
That
fair,
was
he was coming off his probably his worst season ever as a Patriot.
Yeah, shut up. Don't
But
make
yeah.
this defense. All the
but
terrible takes you've had, do not die on the hill that Brady was
no, I mean
correct.
I was in the wrong for sure. But like I thought the writing was on the wall, and then he went won a fucking chip with Tampa. But
I
Yeah,
don't think.
nothing like going to a brand new team and winning a championship your first year to
yeah,
He
show
could
how
have
much
a
you've fallen
broken
off.
hand and like go blind and miss most of the season. I'd still have him top five at any season he's alive.
yeah, I will say funny.
Yeah.
What's funny on Brady is because I was some of these players I was trying to make analogies like for how they compare to like Tom, and it's hard because of he early in his career his numbers weren't like crazy, but he was like, a really good quarterback and he was effective with the ball. But he was playing with like, McDonald's, drive-through servers at wide receiver for the longest time and then finally got I mean, Branch was a good receiver, but he's not like an elite,
Mhm.
elite beater by any means. And then, he finally got Moss and Gronk for his second, run around of Super Bowl championships. But um it
Well,
is interesting to see
he didn't he
the
didn't even win
debates.
with Moss either.
No, which is
Yeah.
great. He doesn't have any rings, right?
Nope.
No.
Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy some of the best players never had a ring. And some of the best quarterbacks, like we just mentioned, Rodgers, Breeze,
Breeze
one
only have
ring.
one.
One ring.
Mhm.
But nevertheless, let's break into our honorable mentions. Of course, I do have my prerequisite of three.
Oh
I
my
was
gosh,
I
Three,
was I
dude.
was
I
only gonna
dropped
do
mine at
one.
dude,
one.
dude.
I was only gonna do one, but
I was only gonna do one, but I did two just to be a
I
little nice. But three is
I'm
ridiculous.
not
I
gonna.
will
I have
say this
like
is the position where you know what, you have to get rid of one of them. There can't be three because quarterbacks, it waters it down. Like, gotta be. Let's be honest. There's
Yeah.
all
20
right. I'll do two.
actually
I'll do two.
starting
Make a
quarterbacks
I'll
stance.
in
do
the
two.
league.
I'll do two.
Make a stance.
Yeah, because like half, there's like I would say 12 quarterbacks that are starting
I
in word
was
only.
I
They're
was gonna
not
throw a
starting
young guy in,
quarterbacks.
but I'll back off. All right, I'll do
Yeah,
two.
two. There you go.
All right.
There
So
goes
Nick,
Jaden Daniels off his list.
Nick, lead it off.
Okay. My two honorable mention guys are two. Um, One I would say is a had a they both argue they had disappointing seasons. One had an individually disappointing season. One had a team disappointing season.
Okay.
Two both of them are, young guys. One just got a really big bag. A lot of controversy on his team, whether his star wide receiver, if he's going to play, when he's going to play, if he's happy, if they're going to trade him.
Hmm.
They just got rid of one of his weapons. I think I can't completely do the argument of the look who he's had around him because I'm going to make an argument later for somebody that he's had talent around him and he's still one of my top quarterbacks. So I'm not going to start an argument one way, then I'm just going to flip later. I think he's been good in his system. I think the other guy universally had one of the most decorated sophomore slumps. So my two honorable mention guys are
Hmm.
CJ Stroud and Brock Purdy.
Okay. Very nice. I'll piggyback off that. CJ Stroud was the toughest for me, I think, because I had him at 10 and 11 back and forth, but he also made my honorable mentions, not my top 10. Um, and then my other guy, I feel like he just doesn't get love, and like I also took me a while to look at his into his stats more, and I know he's a good, leader, and now he's on a new team and he's got a elite tight end and some young guys around him, a rookie running back. Um, but his QBR has been pretty good. His overall rating has been over the 90s the last 4 seasons. So, and I think he just finished fourth in passing yards. So, Geno Smith, I have
Ah,
seems like
Hmm.
he's like the
hmm.
old, like 45 years old at this point. I feel like he's been in the league forever. I remember when the Eagles were on day 2 of the draft, and I was, willing. I was like, I'll take a flyer on Geno Smith in the second round, sure. But I think he's done well. He's really rebuilt his career in Seattle, and then they shipped him off because they want to get younger, and they're kind of in a soft rebuild. But he's a good building block for the Raiders for sure, and we'll see if they have any young quarterbacks in there that are going to learn from him. But yeah,
Hey,
I
North
think
Dakota and South Dakota guys
yeah
fighting
the
it out
the sixth
for
round
Tom
picks.
Brady's entertainment.
But yeah, him and then and Stroud were my honorable mentions.
I think the only person that loves Geno Smith more than Pete Carroll apparently is you. But I respect it. I only went one honorable mention. Again, I figured you were gonna have three, so I figured I'd balance it out by sacrificing my one. I also had CJ Stroud.
Okay,
God,
nice.
when I
Mhm.
going into the year, he's got to be one of the big headlines and players to watch this season
Hmm.
because you look at his raw numbers. The attempts were a little higher, the touchdowns, the yards, completion percentage, even the wins. They're right around where they were the year before.
Hmm.
It's the 12 interceptions and the 52 sacks that changed.
52 sacks
Um,
is not good.
yeah, I mean that
No.
that does scream to me more than just CJ Stroud as a problem. That seems like a whole offensive problem. But I mean, they replaced Slowick, who was getting head coaching consideration in just a year before. So be interesting to see how he goes. New offense, got rid of Tunsil, but you're what's his face? I think Collins is healthy again. So we'll see. But Stroud is an interesting case for me to see how this third year goes.
All right. I'm kind of surprised we're all on Stroud as being outside the top 10, but close. Um, I think it's going to be interesting to see. I'm sure he's on all of our list, Jane Daniels, at some point, how he really takes it. Like, if he falls in the same sophomore trap, teams have a lot of film on him now, but we'll see. I mean, I think Stroud also had, his line deteriorated a little bit last year, so, and he had
Yeah.
injuries at receiver, but you got to play with what you got, so.
Yeah. Stroud made the big change though. Like you
Hmm.
don't go fire your offensive coordinator, who
Hmm.
gave you this successful rookie season with the quarterback, unless you truly think this guy is the problem. I don't know what happened from year one to two, but things clearly fell off the rails.
Yeah, Bobby Slowick is exactly why Kellen Moore needed to take the job in New Orleans because he was supposed to be the hot head coach candidate, and there's only 32 of those jobs. So when your
Yeah,
name's hot, like you got to take it. And
uh,
I
all
didn't
credit to
fault
him.
Kellen at all for doing it.
Yeah, listen, take the job literally. Yeah, you got your Super
Oh
Bowl
yeah.
ring. What else? I mean, what else do you have to prove as an offensive coordinator that he didn't do already?
Mhm.
All right. So that wraps up our honorable mentions. Nick, why don't you crack open top 10? Who
Okay.
made the list at number 10?
All right. So this is going to be probably a big divergence from many consensus lists,
Hmm.
but I'm going to start from you because I told you I keep my notes from every year. Two years ago, my note on him was 27-0 blown lead in wild card round last year.
Ooh.
Natural talent freak, but needs to become a winner.
Hmm.
And then last year, I said, feels like Philip Rivers 2.0. I don't have a shred of confidence the team goes anywhere. And his first playoff game, he went 25 of 43, which is a 58% completion percentage, 1 touchdown, only 273 yards. And I thought that was bad. No, sir. He went 14 for 32, which is a 43.8% completion percentage, 242 yards, and just 1 touchdown. And you guessed it, more interceptions in that game than his entire regular season.
Insane.
So, Mr. I was developed in a lab, and I am the early 2000s complete beauty of a quarterback, but not the modern NFL day quarterback. Justin Herbert, you now have a very expensive left tackle. I hope you enjoy your time with him.
Yeah.
However, you, my friend, are number 10.
Wow.
You know, I agree and disagree with you. I've always been on the same team as he is by far the most overrated quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
I did show him a little more love this year. Not much more love, but I saw some things that I liked this year than what I've seen before, but he's still so criminally overrated. It's disgusting.
Yeah, people love him because he's like that last prototypical quarterback.
He can literally do no wrong. He could throw out in interceptions every single game, and they would still tell you how great of a pass it was. Like, that ball was beautiful. Yeah, but it was over the guy's head.
Oh, he throws the most beautiful interception.
Oh, incredible. Highlight reel stuff.
All right. I mean, I have Herbert not too far off, not at 10, but I definitely agree with everything you said. I think, and especially what Tim just said, I think he's been overrated. I mean, he had two really good, like he came in the league, he had, two good seasons, and then was kind of hit and miss. And then, I mean, he went through like what, 20 touchdowns last year? Like, he's a weird guy. He's definitely one of those, like, look, he's tall, he's got a great arm, he's, accurate except in the playoffs. But I don't know. The playoff thing for me is a big I forget, I think it was PFF said something like he's one of the best regular season or one of the best in-game quarterbacks, but when it's clutch time, he's one of the worst. I'm like, isn't that one of the most important like things to have as a quarterback?
Pretty much.
But, I don't know. My number 10, like I said, this guy I was battling with CJ Stroud. Compared their numbers, and this guy had I'm not slightly, but he had better numbers. And I'm shocked that he's done this with all he's gone through as a quarterback, multiple teams. Was a backup. Most people wrote him off as a starter, and he has found a place in Tampa that is doing wonders for him. And I think more than anything, too, he's one of those quarterbacks that are also beyond the stats because seems to be a great leader, great locker room guy, and he's a dog. Like, he will get in there, he'll start blocking, he'll go make tackles, he'll jump on a fumble, he'll do whatever it takes to win. So I got Baker Mayfield here at number 10. I think it helps to have Mike Evans and a healthy Godwin, of course, but I think you don't just happen to throw 4,500 yards just because you have good wide receivers. Like, he generally had a really good season. I mean, best QBR, excuse me, not best passer rating of his career. Where was it? We're on tab here. 106.8. Pretty good. And QBR of 61, which is also pretty good. Those metrics are always hard to understand, but
yeah, can you explain to me how you break down quarterback rating? Just curious.
I don't know.
No, okay, fair enough.
QBR, I never really fully understood, but
I like
passer rating
using it
makes
as a
more
reference.
sense.
Yeah. I
It's
clearly just copied all this information from Wikipedia. I don't even know what it is.
It's just a made up number. 41 touchdowns though, and 16 interceptions, not terrible. 2.8% interception rate there. But yeah, I mean, I just think I never thought I'd put Baker Mayfield in my top 10. I don't know if I can see him repeating the success he had this season as far as stats go, as far as being top in, passing touchdowns and passing yards, but he's a baller. He puts his team on his back. I'll give him that. So he's my number 10.
I also have Baker at number 10, and I was actually going to start with the quarterback rating, but since you already covered that, I'll skip over that part. I mean, keep mine short. I mean, I echo some of the things you said. I like him in Tampa. He's definitely settled in. He's got that winner mentality. Obviously, he beat the Eagles in the playoffs last year. Um, I forget what they did this year in the playoffs, but I think they were a first round exit.
They lost to
Um,
Washington.
Yeah.
yeah, that's who it was. Really, the big things that popped out of me is one, the guy had first attempted 570 passes, managed to go 71% on his completion percentage, by far the best of his career. I mean, anything over 70% completion percentage on nearly 600 attempts, that's, you're not joking around. That's pretty good. I mean, I'm ignoring the 16 interceptions because the guy 71% completion with 41 touchdowns. That's everything you need to know. He's clearly a baller. But efficient in the insane amount of times he's thrown. Be interesting to see how it goes with Cohen gone, because I think he's really settled in that system with him. But yeah, I mean, QBR was a hell of a stat too. Dakota took that from me already. Expert on the quarterback ranking.
Now I'm in a wormhole, not wormhole, but a black hole, wherever you call it, the thing. Trying to figure out what the hell they formulate the QBR rating.
How's that going?
Yeah, nobody knows.
Hmm.
I don't know. I googled it and something came out about the Russians, so I don't know.
I think you went
Anyway,
down a glory hole, my friend. That's not a black
yeah,
hole.
yeah. Nick is your number nine.
Well, funny that we just talked about him because my number 9 is Baker Mayfield.
All right.
Um,
There you
I
go.
think I think it's it's hard to envision that we were going to have this conversation about him because it felt like we all knew where his career was going.
Yeah.
And it was sputtering and it looked like he was on his way out. But then when he got to Tampa, he is just and it's amazing how like fit can completely change a guy because he had 4,000 yards his first year with Tampa, which was really impressive, and he got that $100 million
Hmm.
contract on that kind of like bet on himself. And I think we all kind of thought that was his peak, but clearly it wasn't because this past year, he became only the third quarterback in NFL history to throw for a 70 completion percentage, 4,500 passing yards, and 40 touchdowns. Three quarterbacks all time have done that. So
Hmm.
Slinging it
it's
with the nearly 700 attempts he had too.
Yeah.
yeah, like his efficiency with all of that was truly remarkable. It took a very gutsy, hot Washington team to come into Tampa and knock him off. He gave his team a shot. That motion on that end around killed him on that fumble at the end of that game, but
Yeah.
he kept them in it. He also has a knack for beating the Eagles, and it sucks that we have to go down to
Tampa
Tampa
in
again.
general does.
Yeah.
Like
That's
so
September Tampa Sun.
yeah,
Pencil
yeah.
in
So
as an L.
yeah, so yeah, it's I just I know we probably have them kind of flip-flopped here. If I was going to run a team, I'd feel better with Baker as my leader than Herbert. I just do. I find them to be very close. Um, I would argue that Herbert's had some amazing talent over the years too, and he never to me has looked like Baker has these last
Mhm.
2 years. So he kind of
Yeah.
just edged out that shift for me.
No, I mean, yeah, I think leaning right into my nine because we're basically, like you said, kind of flip-flopping here. Um, I have Justin Herbert at nine. I mean, this guy's
Wow, I'm the
been,
highest one on Justin Herbert. I'm usually a big Justin Herbert
Wow.
hater compared to the
yeah.
Oh,
consensus. All right, look, I'm gonna have to
I
be the one showing Herbert love. How'd that happen?
wow. I
I
don't know.
just it's tough for me to sit here and like if we grade this just on like looking in the book, like this guy had this many passing yards, this many touchdowns, this was his interception rate. Sure, he'd be at the top, but like a lot of these ratings, like you see it from ESPN and the NFL.com and so-called analysts, PFF, it's like they look so much they're so heavy on the stats and like, oh, Herbert is this and that, but like he doesn't step up. Like I don't like you can't falter twice in the playoffs and be a top five, top six quarterback. Like it just doesn't work like that. I don't care if you throw for 7,000 yards and don't throw a single interception and 100% completion rate. If you're not winning, what's the point? Like like how we talked about Stafford early in his career, he was much of a stat patter. He had Calvin Johnson and the rest of the team was garbage. But he would just get a lot of yards and he would get Pro Bowls and he would, they maybe sniff the playoffs but never really make it because Detroit was always a bad team. I just think Herbert, I mean, we'll see what his receiving core looks like now. They got a bunch of young guys, but I mean, he had a healthy Mike Williams at a time with Keenan Allen. That's a pretty good combo. He had Austin Eckler in his prime. That's a pretty good combo. So I'm not going to sit here and let people make excuses and say, he doesn't have a good wide receiver group. He had it. I mean, I don't know. I just see 23 touchdowns. That people get on Jalen Hurts for how much yards he had and how many touchdowns he had throwing the ball. What are 23 touchdowns is good for Justin Herbert, who's supposed to be the best player on your team. I don't know. It sounded more like a rant for him to not be in the top 10, but I have him at 9. The skill is still there for sure. I mean, he was a
Ah,
first round pick for a reason. Um, and he can be great when he wants to be, but he's got to fix the playoff woes. Once he wins a playoff game, then the conversation will change, but it's a big issue for me.
yeah, he's still Philip Rivers 2.0 to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Oh
I mean,
yeah, yeah, I agree with you there.
I'm interested to see what Mekhi Becton does for him and if he looks the same as he had.
Listen, he's gonna have a big offensive line. There's gonna be very big boys there, so you
Hmm.
got that at least. I
Mhm.
mean, I was saying Joel Alt is just over 1.5 Dakotas. So
Yep.
that's a bit. I don't even look what Mekhi Becton is. He's got to be at least 2 solid Dakotas.
2 or 3, yeah.
Yeah, at least. So my number 9, I'm going to a guy that got a good winning pedigree, good efficiency, good numbers, really good success last year. A guy, I think the hot button topic with quarterbacks nowadays is how good are they by themselves or how good are they as a product of the system? And, this guy's had plenty of supporting cast help that's brought in a lot of success around him. So you can't help but ignore it when you talk about him. But it's a conversation I feel like doesn't get brought up enough with him for some reason. While he's very good, he did have a 72% completion percentage. I'm not going to go and just ignore that since I just brought it up when I was drooling about Baker Mayfield. Guy does win games. So I have Jared Goff here.
Okay.
Okay.
Who's
Okay.
Give him credit. He is extremely accurate. At this point in his career, I never see him make mistakes. He had 12 interceptions, hardly anything that bad. Great completion percentage. But you hear so many narratives about how good is he or is he playing good systems, and you don't ever hear it really enough with Jared Goff. The guy went to
Mhm.
2 different great systems. I mean, he started his career with, peak McVay, the greatest offensive
Mhm.
mind ever, and arguably the best offensive player in football at that time. Went down. I mean, his team gave up on him. Went to Detroit. Give him a lot of credit. I think he was a big part of that Dan Campbell culture rebuild.
Oh, for
So
sure.
Yeah.
not taking anything against him, but now the team's just loaded. They got offensive line is elite. So many skill players. Again, I'm not saying he can't. He's not great, but before I bring him in the top 5, I need to see a little bit more than what I've seen so far, especially with the talent he's had. So it is a hot button issue, and I saw a couple lists that had him higher than a certain Super Bowl winning quarterback with a similar argument against them.
Hmm.
But you don't hear it enough for Jared Goff's case, and that's why he's at 9 for me. Because until I start hearing the reasoning why that's not as big a factor for other quarterbacks as it is to him, he's not going higher than that.
Hmm.
Yes. So I want to piggyback on something because you talked about how. So did you watch the show Quarterback, the new season?
I have
Not
not,
the new
no.
season now.
So Goff is on it, and so when Dan Campbell got the head coaching job, he's the one who selected Jared Goff to turn that culture around. So you're spot on there. It's been very impressive to see what he's done with his career, and that's one of the very rare win-win trades I've ever seen in the NFL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like LA got their championship, Detroit got to completely reboot their team. And I just want to, because Jared Goff is my number 8. He impressed me this year, and I do think it's ironic that the Hurts gets all this talk about how good his offense is, but nobody talks about it with Detroit, which is very fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Especially his
um,
second time in his career that this has now happened. Now, credit to that guy. You don't just fall into these situations. You are a part of it.
no,
But
Yeah, no,
I
for
no.
think
sure.
it's something that needs to be said bigger than just a casual mention.
No, he's got a great team around him. I will tell you, I would be probably the least surprised if he moves out of the top 10, given that he lost Ben Johnson,
Hmm.
Frank Ragnow, who was
Retired,
like
yeah.
just a stud center for them, and they lost their right guard, Kevin Zeitler. So a lot of shifting going on in that offensive line. The offensive mastermind on that team is gone. That division is stacked. Um, it wouldn't surprise me if they hit. I'm not going to tell you they're not going to win, 10 games, but
Hmm.
I wouldn't be shocked if, they came in second in the division or a wild card team, something like that. But what he's done in Detroit has definitely been very impressive, and I feel like he deserves to be kind of that back end of the top 10.
I
I
go
like
go
that.
ahead, Tom.
One thing, as I cut you off, Dakota, as normal.
Classic.
One thing I do want to piggyback, because I think you're right. Like, the culture set for that guy is impressive. Like, he was the first overall draft pick, set everything with McVay, then did it again with Campbell. And credit to the lines of Campbell, because listen, they were terrible. You could either set the
Mhm.
culture with an unknown and a draft pick, or you could bring in a guy that, can be the guy that's such a culture. He's coming from a winning culture. He knows that. Stafford is a little used to you because you're not going to be competing for a while. But Jared Goff, I think, is the perfect example of what we've seen become more of a trend, and something I wanted to bring up since we've already hit on a couple of them with Baker. Sam Darnold's another guy that I think about. Do you start seeing more of these high first round quarterbacks start getting traded in new environments, like being wanted quicker? Like,
Mm.
if Justin Fields left, the Bears and then went to where was he, the Steelers or a different team, like if someone like, with no starter at all just went up like, hey, we need Justin Fields, we got a brand new coach, see what happens, or Zach Wilson even. Like, do teams start getting more aggressive on hitting up any of these like first round draft picks or complete busts and be like, we need a guy that is a veteran that has skill and talent, like a Sam Darnold or Baker or Jared Goff, high draft pick guys that just needed a second chance. I mean, mine is like a handful of quarterbacks. Some of them at least proven to be competent, starting quarterbacks at one point in their lives after their draft bust. Minus, I think Trey Lance is the one that's never done it.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think that also depends on, incoming coaches and if teams are changing the guard, so to speak. Like, I mean, Tua was in trade rumors. Herbert was in trade rumors. I mean, in another parallel world, I could see Trevor Lawrence, if they have another bad year,
Trevor Lawrence, yeah.
he could be in conversation to get moved to, again, maybe a refresh for him and the team. I think it just depends. Sometimes it's the not even just the NFL. I just feel like pro sports in general nowadays are so we need to win now mentality
Mhm.
that you see coaches. I mean, hockey has some of the craziest coaching, hockey and basketball, some of the craziest coaching turnovers. Like, you could win a championship and then next year you're out.
Yeah, but it's the same coaches over and over again. Like, geez, you
Well,
get a
yeah.
head coaching job, you will have one for
Yeah,
the rest of
and
your
if you're
life.
like NHL, like each coach is played for the entire division, so it's like whatever. But no, I mean it's a good point. Um, I don't know. It's tough to. It depends. Like, and then back to Baker Mayfield, it's like if that coaching staff in Tampa wasn't what they are for him when he got there, if he might have just been the same Baker we assumed was going to keep deteriorating. So there's so many factors that go into it, but.
I don't know, Dakota. You can never know whether or not you were going to have Sam Darnold in the top 10.
So
My
I
last,
I saw I think Sports Illustrated had him in was it
No,
someone did.
no,
so my
can't do
last
it.
point being this: going off this trend, I look back in my time capsule,
Hmm.
2020, Mac Jones. Obviously, the Patriots fall
Mac
apart.
Jones.
The Patriots fall apart. His third season, they
Hmm.
get what's his face, May. But Mac Jones, you forget, was a Pro Bowler's first year. Second year, they were decent, and then
Hmm.
fell apart. You got teams like the Colts, who I think had Matt Ryan or Phil Rivers at this time. The Titans were okay. I think teams are afraid to rip the Band-Aid off. But, sometimes you got to bottom out to get these decent quarterbacks. If I was the Colts, look back in time, maybe instead of going Wentz, Phil Rivers, Matt Ryan, do I hit up the Patriots? Be like, listen, Mac Jones, I'd give me a fourth or whatever. The teams are less likely to move on from their, first round pick quarterbacks until they got someone younger and better. But if you're more aggressive, maybe you save Mac Jones. Maybe Mac Jones a little better. He was a Pro Bowler. He comes from a winning organization with Belichick. Some traits that I think can transfer, like a Jared Goff. Maybe Fields gets in a better situation than the Steelers, where realistically it didn't seem like he ever had a chance to start over Wilson. Or you bring him out of Chicago before the things fall apart. I don't know. I think you'd see it more. Teams when they start realizing, this isn't the guy. We need to start bottoming out and get some young. And teams that are like, our team's too good right now to bottom out. We just need a quarterback instead of going to the usual well of Danny Jones and Philip Rivers until he dies and Aaron Rodgers show. Danny, you just go and like, all right, let me get a guy that's younger, obviously has the skill because he was a high draft pick and has at least been doing an organization that isn't a complete shit show and see where I can go from there.
Yeah, Philip Rivers was averaging like a child born per season. So
Yeah, you sign Philip Rivers can be your starting quarterback over like a Mac Jones who was a Pro Bowler 2 years ago and is 26 is insane. Like the logic of let's run out Aaron Rodgers again before we just make a trade for. I mean, I don't know. I can't think of anyone on the top of my head, but these are how Darnold's and Baker's resurrect their career.
no, I mean I think it is a risk, but I think we've seen it work and we've seen it not work, but it depends on the, risk reward factor for sure. But I mean, we could see it in I was about to say Oakland, in Vegas. I mean, who knows? Maybe Gino balls out for the Raiders and gets them into the playoffs or something crazy. You never know. But to segue, before I was interrupted by Tim, I
Nice.
also have Jared Goff at number 8.
Oh, look at
Um,
that.
I I was debating with him in my number 7, but my number 7 outperformed him in the playoffs, and he has, I think, a higher ceiling. Um, and Jared Goff has been good though. I mean, like you said, he was good with the Rams, but couldn't get it done. And then they did the little swap with Stafford this past year. Second in passing yards, only to Joe Burrow. Fourth in passing touchdowns with 47. I mean, sure, he has, elite talent around him, but again, to, you have to get the ball to them. So you need a good quarterback. So I think the talent argument isn't always super valid. But yeah, I mean, I remember having this debate when him and Wentz entered, and I was, of course, the Eagles fan thinking, oh, well, Wentz is going to be better than Jared Goff, and couldn't be more of the opposite. Goff's really done well in Detroit, and like you guys all hit on, been great for their culture, great for their whole rebuilding process. And I mean, I remember when he got traded over, a friend of mine is a Lions fan, and we're like, oh yeah, good stopgap quarterback in Goff. You'll draft a guy and he'll come in and learn from Goff, and then Goff will be off the team or a backup. Nope, he's been balling out. I mean, I think he just turned 30, still putting up numbers. So we'll see again with the changing at the line and with the coordinator. But so a couple of my quarterbacks here in this back end of the top 5 definitely have surprised me in how well they've responded to change on new teams. So number 8 for Jared Goff.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Tim?
My number, I think I did my number. Oh, I'm sorry, my number 8. Yeah, my bad. My number 8, I don't know how I ended up in this situation because like I said, I think he's so overrated, but I actually am the biggest lover of Justin Herbert, apparently. So
At 9-8.
I'll skip over the part of why I think he's overrated and I guess go to defending him. So there was some good here. I think going into a system with Harbaugh is perfect for him because this just run and gun and shoot offense he's been in for so long, where he just piles up stats and doesn't do anything with them, I think is just inflated how good he actually is. But so he dropped the attempts; they were pretty much just career low if you take away the season before where he missed 4 games. But he still gave you lowest interception rate in the whole entire league. Only had 3 of those. He still was pushing the ball. His yards per attempt was the highest of his career. Yards per catch was the highest of his career. I know Dakota loves these stats the most, so I don't want to miss them. It's one of his best QBRs of the season, and QB rate was also the best by far of his career. So all big numbers that I know Dakota loves.
Yep.
So I mean, I think the system has developed a lot around him. I think having a good offensive line, which helps when you have Slater and all protecting your bookends, helps a lot. I think having an established run game with the identity they have helps a lot. So I see the potential in turning the corner from becoming the overinflated stat guy to this guy might actually be able to win some games. The numbers I think looked pretty good. When you get past this, like, oh, you didn't throw for 5,000 yards like he normally does. Well, yeah, he didn't throw the
Right.
ball 700 times like he normally does either. So
Yeah, they ran a lot.
I think this is a playoff team next year too. I think you might see the best of Justin Herbert, but that was my take because I had to be his biggest lover this time.
Do you not find it weird that they number one signed Najee Harris and the number two drafted the running back most like him? Like, what was the point of that?
I I mean, I think being realistic, Najee Harris is not a guy I'm set on as number one. Also, I mean, he likes his style. He had J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards resurrect their career last year. So
That's true.
I think Harbaugh just likes those tough running guys, and he
Yeah.
figures I don't need a stud running back. Just give me as many of those tough running guys as I can. My linemen are equivalent to a dozen Dakotas, and we'll be fine. I think Harbaugh doesn't take that Chargers job unless he knows Herbert's amazing. So I think he's got plenty of faith in the guy. He's just like, I need a block for you, and I need to give you a running game, but you are the one that's going to win these games for us.
Yeah. Well, or I mean, all world beater Jalen Rager.
That is true. Yeah. I mean, they could work on some wide receivers would be
Steal
good,
the
but
Chargers.
he's clearly
Yes.
more worried about running the ball.
Well, they have Lad McConkey. Did they take a wide receiver in the second round?
No, they took Amari and Hampton. Oh no, they took Amari and Hampton in the first round.
Yeah, no.
Um,
Hampton was the first round.
Hampton the first round. I forgot. No, because they're Lab McConkey, Quentin Johnston, and Trey Harris are their starters.
There's
Okay.
a there was a photo of
Trey Harris they took in the second. They took
there
Trey
was
Harris in the second.
a photo of Chargers training camp, I guess from last week or early this week, or yeah, last week. And he Johnson was going up for a catch, and you see Lad McConkey right behind him, waiting for him to drop it.
I saw that. I saw that.
So
Can I?
Lab McConkey's a dog, though. I gotta
he's
tell
He's
you,
very,
great.
very
he's
So
very
good.
good.
Edelman, very
All right, we have to compare him to every white wide receiver. Okay, like
I break the mold,
every
man.
small
Think
white
outside the
slot
box.
wide
God,
receiver.
he's good.
yeah,
He's
he's good. No,
him,
he was really good in Georgia, and he's been really good in the NFL.
him and Bowers in the same offense is insane. Now, I am Mr. Positive Herbert somehow, but if Herbert, I think they're a playoff team. Say Herbert wins 2 playoff games, whether that be the division conference game, whatever you want to, or even a wild card division game, and Hurts wins another Super Bowl. Similar stats. How much higher do every national media have Justin Herbert ranked higher than Jalen Hurts?
Dude,
Like
they love Justin Herbert, and they hate
Justin
Jalen
Herbert's
Hurts.
top 3 quarterback then,
All
right?
I
At that
Yeah,
point.
all I heard
probably.
was that Jalen needs to win a Super Bowl for him to be like recognized as one of the best. And then he wins the Super Bowl, now everyone's making him not one of the best. So it's like,
If Jalen doesn't win the Super Bowl, Justin Herbert just needs to win one playoff game, and he's immediately over Jalen Hurts in
yeah.
everyone's rankings,
But
guaranteed.
You know what though? He was drafted in a class where everybody just like he's the least loved of the quarterbacks, but the most successful. Like it was the Burrow, Tua, Herbert, Jordan Love draft,
mm,
and everybody's so positive on the rest of those guys,
yeah.
and he gets so much hate, and he's the only one with a ring.
Another
Yeah.
guy that's I think falls into the overrated category for right now. I think Jordan Love, because I don't think he was mentioned on any of our honorable mentions or in our
No.
list. So very vol. He's a very Packers quarterback. Big
I've
risk,
I've
big reward.
yeah, but I've watched Jordan Love throw them out of games, like
Mhm.
really poorly timed interceptions.
Oh
I
yeah.
also think Matt LaFleur is a very overrated coach, and I
Mm.
think he just gets a lot of love because he's a part of the
He gets a lot
McVay.
of passes. Yeah.
He's part of that McVay crowd that like it's like the McVay fan club, like boy club that they just love on each other, and I don't think he's that good of a coach.
What
I
was
really
that?
don't.
Was it what Shanahan, McVay?
It was Kyle Shanahan, McVay, LaFleur were all in Washington.
Yeah. So, but
Speaking of Washington,
oh,
Oh, what a transition.
do we
speak,
both have the same number seven?
speaking of Washington,
Hmm.
so last year I was willing to put CJ Stroud at number 10 after a great year.
Hmm.
There.
I think having 1 year and going top five, if you didn't have like straight to the Super Bowl and winning it, is absolutely asinine.
Yeah, people are losing
Uh,
their mind.
I think that's absolutely absurd considering there's three guys ahead of him who have won Super Bowl MVPs.
Hmm.
I will give him his flowers though. He had a remarkable season last year. Like he almost ran for 1,000 yards last year on top of what he did passing. He had 55 rushing first downs. He was a fourth down demon. They were
55.
they were so good on fourth down. Um, it was a very mediocre offense, very mediocre. It was a suspect line. Terry McLaurin is a good receiver. Zach Ertz is well past what he was. And they didn't actually have a wide receiver two on that team.
Hmm.
So what he was able to do with that offense was impressive. He elevated them. He went into Tampa, won a game. He went into Detroit, won a game, and played well in both of those games. Then he came to Philly and had no shot coming in. But I'm not going to hold that against him.
Yeah.
His first year in that environment, our roster was
With that team.
significant.
Yeah.
It's just our roster is significantly better than that roster. It just is. Um, but I will say he's impressive. He looks like a guy who he could be a tough quarterback for the next 10 years.
Hmm.
I'm not ready to anoint him some top three status that I've seen around, which I think is absolutely
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Pe- just it's like the whole CJ Stroud drop off didn't happen and people forget. But
Yeah, and you know what? Like now people have had an entire off season of his tape.
hmm
So let's see. And also, he somehow avoided not getting hit square this year. I don't know how. He never really got hit hard, and a guy with his frame,
oh yeah.
I just wonder when that first big hit's gonna happen and he starts running differently.
He's
Like
got
I
that
don't
Lamar ability though. Lamar never get. I've been waiting this for
no,
years. Lamar, I've never
no,
seen get hit hard.
but I would argue Lamar is
Mm.
a first ballot Hall of Famer. I'm not ready to
I
say
mean,
that about
yeah,
Jaden
no, I'm not
Daniels.
saying he's Lamar, but I say
Yeah,
the trait is there that he does
yeah,
remind me in that way when I saw him play. Because I think, I mean, behind that Swiss cheese offensive line last year, you
yeah.
think, how does he not get wrecked more?
I don't know how
Yeah.
he doesn't, but he is very elusive. But the one thing the NFC East does have is defensive line.
hmm
Even the Giants, who are a horrible team, will probably win 3 games. They have three studs on
Demons.
that
Yeah.
D line. So he's got, I'm not here to hate on him. He really impressed me last year. I think he's going to be good for a while. Um, but I'm not ready to say he's a top five quarterback. 'Cause I think that is insane.
Yeah. We should do a word count on the word piggyback, but I also have Jane Daniels here at 7. I could not even fathom putting him in top 5 after one rookie season because he had that rookie magic. I do think he's going to. I think long term he is a better prospect to keep this up than CJ Stroud. I think he has a slight edge. Um, but we did see a slight drop off in him in the middle of the season. They lost 3 games in a row. His yards were down. He was throwing picks. He wasn't clean with the ball. And then he kind of adjusted and the Washington coaches kind of fixed some things and helped him out. And they got back on the ship. And then they went on that run, um, knocked on the door of the Super Bowl, which is hell impressive, like you said, with that team he had as a rookie coming into the league for his first year. Um, but I think he's top 10 for sure. I think the talent's there. I I am a little worried about there's film on him now. And that team, I think they got better, but I don't think they got immensely better. I mean, they added Debo Samuel, they got Laramie Tunsil on the line. The defense is a question mark, but we'll see how he does. I do think I'm pretty high on Terry McLaurin. I think he's a great safety blanket for him. Same with Ertz. Those are two team first guys that I think you want, especially for a young quarterback. Um, but it's hard to argue with 100 rating, 100 passer rating as a rookie. Like you said, almost 1,000 rushing yards, um, and only 9 picks because that's something you see a lot with rookies is mistakes. And for the most part, he was pretty good with the ball. So we'll see how he progresses, you know. But I think that back end of top 10 is good for him right now. We'll see how he responds next year. So my number 7, Jane Daniels.
Fair enough. I will just start first before we continue. I do not have Jaden Daniels in the top 5.
Okay.
Good. Good.
But I do have him over one Super Bowl winner because I do have Matt
Ah,
Stafford here at number 7.
Hmm.
okay. Okay.
Matt Stafford, I really have nothing bad to say about Stafford. The guy shows up in the big moments. He was the Philip Rivers, Justin Herbert for a while in his career. He's shown he can
Mhm.
put up a lot of numbers. He's one of those guys that, for a while you're like, oh, he puts up stats, but he can't do anything. Got to a team that could win and, that changed that quickly. And he set a good culture there. He can ball out. He's had some turnover with that team a little bit now since he's been there. Um, Mr. Reliable. He's never gonna make a mistake. I think that if that you can be whatever side you want on the argument, but if that snow doesn't happen in the Eagles game, who knows what other side that could be a blowout for the Eagles. The Rams may win. They both had to play in the snow, but um, he's getting up there in age, 37. I don't think he's ever going to lose them games, but I do think there's going to start to be some decline. Guy dealt with a lot of injuries in the beginning of his career. He's well past them, but I think we're seeing the decline now from him. Still good, still a top 10 guy for sure. But I wonder how many years he's got left. But I think he's still got a few in there. He's had a nice solid season. Gave you your 24 touchdowns. Or no, I'm sorry, it was 13 touchdowns, 20
No,
touchdowns,
20 touchdowns. Yeah.
I was going backwards on his career. About 37 yards. So yeah, another solid Stafford year, playoff success. But yeah, that's where I got him. Not a sexy pick, but he deserves to be top 10.
Yeah, I think he fits that team really well though because he's not. There's such a with Kyron Williams now. They like to obviously run the ball, so he doesn't need to throw as much. I mean he's still throwing 500 passes, but it's not like I'm looking back at his. This is how old he is. He played in 2012 when I was still in high school. He threw 727 pass attempts. Like
But
he
he
only
played in
threw.
2009. He was drafted.
Yeah.
When you entered high
been
school is when you
been
entered
around.
that.
He's been around the block, but yeah,
Huh.
I know. I think not to skip ahead of Nick, but I have Stafford at 6, so right after.
Yeah, so we
Um,
probably flip flopping a little bit.
yeah, I mean, I think like you said, he's just very much there's not really anything to say against him other than his age at this point. I mean, he takes care of the ball well enough. He's got good talent around him, so he's not being asked to do a ton. I mean, he's always had a good receiver, whether it was Cup, and then Nakua came in, and now he's got him and Adams. Good running back, good solid line, pretty good defense, creative play caller. He's not a vacation for him, but I mean, he's in a good spot to kind of ride out the end of his career whenever he wants to hang it up. Um, but we'll see. I mean, the Rams are feisty. They're always that team going into the year where you're like not sure what to think of them, and then by the end of the season, they're in the playoffs again. But um, yeah, I've always liked Stafford. I was Megatron. Calvin Johnson's one of my favorite players of all time. So I did watch a lot of their highlights and games and stuff. So, but yeah, Matty Stafford number 6 for me. Nick, not to cut you, but would you have it? Would you have it 6?
I also had a young Matthew Stafford.
Young
Um,
Matty Stafford.
I think I think I think the best way I can explain Matt Stafford is it would not shock me at all if he brought that team to the NFC Championship and had to come to Philly
Mm,
this year. He fits really well in that Rams system.
yeah.
Uh, um, he runs it really clean. I think I will tell you when I was at that Rams playoff game and when he hit Nakua with that ball,
Mm.
you could hear the freaking snow hit the ground. That's how quiet that stadium got. I was like,
Mm.
Yeah, it was
he's about
terrifying.
to do this. I was like, he's about to do this right now. Luckily, Jalen Carter was like, not today,
It was
Satan.
like
And
flashbacks of old Eagles.
so
I was surprised.
he came through and won that game for us. But Stafford he's just I have him and Jaden Daniels are on that same kind of tier for me. Jaden Daniels with the upside in the future, Matthew Stafford with the like he's done it. And he's won the Super Bowls and he's been a great quarterback on 2 different teams and
Hmm.
he's got the longevity and can still play. Like I wouldn't be shocked if the Rams and Washington played each other in the semis to play us in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
It would not surprise me if Stafford won that game. So
I mean, I kind of figured we'd be right around this area. So I have Jaden Daniels at number 6.
Okay.
I was watching Jaden Daniels all year. I was a big Jaden Daniels fan. Like I said the same thing to you like every week together. Like the Commanders were not a good team. They stink. They were a terrible team. Like the roster wasn't good. They were the second the overall draft pick for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
No one on that team was good. You guys have touched on it already, but I just kept thinking Jaden Daniels is winning these games for them because their team stinks. The defense isn't very good.
Yep.
They're getting so much more from these skill players than they should. Their offensive line is not good. I agree with you. He's got a slender body, he needs to get hit, but he did get sacked like 47 times.
Yeah.
You're not going to find a rookie quarterback get sacked 47 times and still lead them to success. What he did in the playoffs was extremely impressive. Take away the blowout. That was exactly what that Washington team was capable of. They ran into a buzzsaw and they were just nowhere near good enough to beat the Eagles. But Jaden Daniels looked really good. He looked like he was getting better. Granted, there were some cupcakes in that schedule. They did not play a very hard schedule this year. But this dude checked every box for me as a rookie. I was so impressed. The playoff run was impressive. And part of the reason I'm still high on him was they went and got Deebo Samuel. Say what you want, but he's a massive upgrade over what they had. They got Laramie Tunsil, who's still an elite left tackle. Their first-round draft pick was their right tackle, and Josh Cornley. They went and got high-end offensive lineman and a high-end wide receiver to complement him this year. I think their moves are going to help. The schedule will be tougher. The playbook will be out there on how to beat them, but any guy that gets sacked 47 times with that awful roster and can win, 2 playoff games his rookie year, it's pretty impressive. That doesn't go away.
Yeah, I'm not sure if any of us touched on it either, but like his confidence, but more importantly, his composure as a rookie. I mean, some of these games, like you said, it wasn't the hardest schedule, but I mean, look at the Chicago game when it was like, all right, I gotta somehow will my team some crazy Hail Mary, work my way down the field. I think same thing against Dallas. I don't think they ended up beating Dallas, but they, came back late, had some crazy plays, but he never gave up, never folded under the pressure. He was always calm, always looked for the best option, didn't try to force things too often. So that going forward is great for him because as a rookie, if you can do that, then you're only going to get better from there. And so many players fall into that mistake of forcing the ball, especially at young points in their career, and then that we see players that fall off because of the mental aspect when they can't have that success and they're struggling. But we'll see how far Jaden Daniels can go. But it's tough as an Eagles fan. I don't want to root for him, but he's doing good stuff. So that being said,
spicy.
All right, top 5. I think we all have the same players in the top 5, so that's good. I'm curious about the order. So Nick, who cracked at number 5?
Yeah, it's tough. I've changed this a couple times. And I think the order I landed on, I feel the best about and the least likely to be moved off of. Although I know it's not going to be what most people would say, but it's my list, so I'm sticking with it.
Fair enough.
So, number 5, there's a quarterback who's considered to be a top 5 quarterback, and he is. However, I don't know how many top 5 quarterbacks start 0-3. Don't throw a single touchdown against the New England Patriots at home. Throw for under 200 yards. Don't make the playoffs.
That was an elimination game. Yeah, I remember.
And still get to be just treated like you are the best. Now, I'm not going to tell you he doesn't have great numbers. His numbers are phenomenal. His numbers will tell you he's a great quarterback. And he's a great quarterback. But I don't understand why I have to hear about Jalen Hurts' tandem when his tandem is the highest paid tandem in football. In Jamar Chase and T. Higgins.
Go figure.
He's a great quarterback. I'm not here to dog on the guy. but we're splitting hairs once you get to this level. He has no first team All Pros. He has no MVPs. He has no Super Bowl MVPs. He got to one Super Bowl.
He did.
Did not win it. The other guys have just done some things he hasn't done yet. And I'm going to tell you right now, if the Bengals don't, and I know that people will point to their defense, and their defense did let them down a lot.
Yeah.
But he also didn't win them games when he had opportunities.
He's throwing late interceptions. Yep.
You don't show up against the Pats to start the season at home. You don't, you played tight with Kansas City. I'll give you that one. Jaden Daniels' third game of his career. You couldn't beat him. They almost went 0 for September. Like they start slow every single year. And I'm gonna put Burrow at number 5.
Right, fair. I mean, I have no argument on any really on this list. Top 5 is my elite status. You can define your elite by whatever you want, but these 5 are, I would say, head and shoulders above the rest of the league, is the way I look at it. You really go whatever way you want. And I would be perfectly fine with it.
Yeah, I really thought I was going to be the only one that had Burrow not in the top 4. So I'm kind of surprised by this. But I also have
look at this.
Joe Burrow.
Ending.
I also have Joe Burrow at 5. It's funny when we talk about Philip Rivers and Justin Herbert, because lately I've been thinking that Joe Burrow is very much just Carson Palmer, but a little flashier.
Carson Palmer. Carson Palmer.
I mean, had CJ Houshmandzadeh, Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco.
What does that have to do with anything?
Had their fair share of good running backs, and a so-so defense. I just feel like it's a similar situation, and Carson was a great quarterback, but again, never really was able to do much. I mean, he never got to a Super Bowl, but they were always perennial playoff contenders. My thing with Joe is like kind of how Nick was pointing out that, that defense was so bad. Because of that team was down. And so they had no other option than to throw 40 million times to try and catch up, try and sustain leads. I mean, he had the most passing yards in the league. He had, I think, the most touchdowns as well.
Most touchdowns, yeah.
Was he the Triple Crown? I don't know what the other
No, because he didn't have completion percentage, but he did lead the league in touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, damn near 5,000 yards. Nothing to sniff at. 43 touchdowns, but 652 pass attempts, most by a quarterback last year, and 20th most in league history. I mean, we talked about Stafford had that one season with over 700. So, like I said, he was asked to throw the ball a lot. Now, if you said, I think Joe Burrow is the second best quarterback in the league, I honestly wouldn't fight you, because I think he has the talent, absolutely. And obviously comes from, winning culture with LSU. But I just feel like, again, there's times where, I mean, Nick, you kind of said it perfectly. Like, he'll win you games, but he'll also do things to, even when your team is not playing well, he also will drop down to that level and not play well, and have sluggish issues and not come out hot, not start off well and have to play catch up the entire time. Which is last year, I just felt like they were always playing catch up, and he had some really bad games that looked good on paper, but in actuality were not great. So I think Joe's anywhere from 2 to 5. Don't have any problem with where you put him, but my argument for my next guy was just far superior than what Joe's been able to do. So it's where I landed on 5th for him. But the talent's there. I think as a pure quarterback, I think he could be higher. But factoring in team and what you mean to the team and how you perform for them and all that, I think puts him at 5 for me. Tim?
Fair enough. I think that's fair. I mean, the Carson Palmer reference was disrespectful. He's
definitely better than Carson Palmer, but it was just a fun.
That was just pathetic.
Carson Palmer was good. Give him his flowers. He was good.
Oh my God, that's not even relevant.
he was good, but that was a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, that was pretty pitiful. So I do not have Joe Burrow here. I actually went with a little bit of a change. So this one I went with an MVP, and I know we touched on.
Yeah, but you hate him.
I don't hate on anyone.
I
This
feel
is
like you hate him.
first off, I'm going to preface this with MVP is worth less than beating Patrick Mahomes. Beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, that is worth a lot more than any MVP. I mean, how many of your top 5 have MVPs but don't have any wins against Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs? These are the things. It's an insane stat, but that's what you really got to measure people off of. How many times they beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs instead of MVPs? But I'm not going to go on a whole too big of a thing. I just think the biggest thing I'd look at is his offense got better. Their identity changed. And I think that played a bigger part in their success. Like, I think when Derrick Henry showed up in Baltimore, he became the focal point. I don't think Lamar Jackson really changed any of the narratives that were there before Derrick Henry before they changed their identity, before it was, Lamar is strictly just a running quarterback. And then he did get better as a passer. Admittedly, I think I had him 2 last year because of that. But this year his attempts were down. He did throw 41 touchdowns. The 4 interceptions is nice, but I just feel like the identity of this team changed. He still has his falls in the playoffs. He didn't really have many attempts in the playoffs. You're talking about 18 in the first round. They did win, but then he didn't even have 30 in the second one. I think Lamar's great and all. You're nitpicking at this point. But I don't know. I kind of wanted to see, basically what I wanted to see is Lamar step up even more. He made a big step last year, and I thought he would step up a little bit more with Derrick Henry, but it feels like he stepped back a little bit, and Derrick Henry became the focal point of this offense. You can make the same argument if you want about Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts, but Jalen wins. Lamar hasn't. So that's in the end, that's the biggest thing. So you're nitpicking here. I was really more confident in him stepping up with the Derrick Henry sidekick, and I think Derrick Henry took the Batman role more than anyone wants to admit.
I have a hard time saying yes to him at 5, but I don't hate your argument, but I have him a little higher.
I think
there.
again, I think we're splitting hairs at this point. I think it's about preference.
I think 2 to 5 is preference, and I think we should all have the same guy.
2 to 5. 2 to 5 is kind of, because I actually don't even have him next. I have the person who stole the MVP from him up next at number 4.
Number 4.
Hey, listen, 2 to 5. I'm interested in the debates because
I
could go either way.
So if I told you, first of all, being second team All Pro and winning MVP is crazy to me, especially when you throw for 400 less yards, you rush for 400 less yards,
yeah,
you throw for 13 less touchdowns. You score less overall touchdowns. You throw more interceptions, and you had a lower completion percentage. So I don't see it other than the fact the NFL needed Josh Allen to finally have an MVP because he had 3 top 5 finishes, and they felt like it was
can't get an MVP.
Is he the Joel Embiid of this?
Yeah, they were just like, you know what, you've come so close so many times. We don't really feel like Lamar should have his 3rd, so we're going to give it to you. I think Josh is a very good quarterback. It's not to say he's not a good quarterback. He is. He cannot beat Patrick in the playoffs.
Nope.
No.
Just cannot do it. One could argue that Stephon Diggs drop that he threw the most beautiful ball I've ever seen was a big piece of that a couple years back. But he just can't quite get it done. He's a supreme talent. He's amazing to watch. I do feel like a little bit like this MVP felt like kind of like the Steve Nash MVP that got stolen from LeBron James. I think because they were just kind of sick of the same guy getting it so often. But listen, if they don't, I will say though, it does impress me what he does with a not great team because the Bills roster is not good.
He makes them look better for sure.
He makes them look better like that. If you put in an average if you put Kirk Cousins, who I always said is like the definition of the middle quarterback who's just like captain average. If you put him on the Bills, they turn into the
5 wins.
Steelers. No, they'd be like the Steelers. They'd be like a 9-8 team that like just kind of like flirts with that wild card.
Yeah.
They turn into the Steelers.
I love that. It's like baseball, you have WAR. Football, it's wins above Kurt.
Wins above Kurt.
The whack stat.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So my number 4, is which is actually where I had him last year too. I feel like he was about on par where he was. I don't ever want to hear this MVP quoted as a thing that he did because he stole it and they wanted to give him one. Because there's no justification for him getting it over Lamar, like zero justification.
I mean, Saquon should have had it more than anything, but we digress.
Yeah, we digress. Okay.
Yeah. The Josh Allen number 4. Again, I think the 2 to 5 thing is one thing. I will say just before I get to my 4, I think his MVP was a kind of a give me, like you said, like goddamn take it. But I think, like you said, he willed that team to a lot of wins. And
do you have the same 5 and 4?
No, I was just finishing up on Josh Allen.
I was gonna say, I'm shocked.
No. I think yes, Lamar was warranted to get the MVP over him, but I think as far as most valuable player to their team, I think he did deserve it based on what he did for that team. But nevertheless, my number 4, and this was the guy I had the hardest time placing, but he's my guy, and I have probably the most to say about him. Jalen Hurts here, number 4. I think we've seen lists by people from anywhere from 9 by ESPN or executives to top 5. I mean, I think PFF had him at 5. Rich Eisen said he would have put him in top 3. Cam Newton, who apparently thinks he was one of the best quarterbacks ever, which I enjoyed watching Cam, but his stats compared to Jalen's in their first 4 seasons are pretty close to the same. He doesn't even have him in the top 10 after he was gassing him up before the Super Bowl, so that's interesting. But, and I don't know who coined this term, but the phrase has been everybody's better than Jalen Hurts until it's time to be better than Jalen Hurts. And he just wins. Like it's very much the Jordan brand for him fits really well too, because it's just the winning mentality, the by any means. And people seem to forget that he finished what, 2nd or 3rd in MVP voting just 2-3 years ago when they went to the Super Bowl.
He would have won if he didn't get hurt. He was in the lead.
Yeah. Like that season apparently never happened because everyone seems to forget it. Just because he played 15 games that didn't throw for 3,000 yards, people think he's not a good quarterback and that anyone could win with this roster. There's very few occurrences in the league where a not top level quarterback will go to the Super Bowl and win convincingly. And I have seen this man outperform one of the best quarterbacks ever twice in the biggest game of the entire year. So I won't put him in top 3 just because of, do I think he's the most accurate? No. Do I think he throws the best deep ball? No. Do I think he has the biggest arm? No. Is he the fastest quarterback? No. But he does so many things well, and he's so composed. He is the perfect leader, the guy that's just selfless, will do whatever it takes. And it's crazy because there actually are a lot of good stats. I'm going to go a little rant here, but his first 4 seasons as a starter, 45-17, more than Elway and Montana. Granted, the Eagles have a great team, but it's a quarterback-driven league. He already has a Super Bowl ring. Elway, Marino, and Peyton didn't win one until later in their careers. 1 All-Pro, which, Nick, you mentioned. Burrow doesn't have a first-team All-Pro. Brady and Breeze didn't have first-team All-Pros their first 4 seasons. More Pro Bowls than Lamar, Allen, Rodgers, and Burrow in their first 4 seasons. 1,600 total yards, more than Favre, Montana, Brady, and Elway. The list goes on and on. 94.8 QB passer rating by the Dan Marino, Tom Brady, Joe Montana.
Oh, you stole the QBR. Just gonna make sure to pop that
Passer
in.
rating, not QBR, passer rating.
Oh, sorry. I'll save that for mine.
Yeah. The guy just wins. He plays well. He has his moments like every quarterback does where, obviously we had that the year before the Super Bowl where they had that stretch of like they couldn't figure out how to win. Like Jalen wasn't playing well, the team wasn't playing well, coaching wasn't coaching well. Um, but like he's just so good at being perfect for this team. He does what he needs to. If he needed to throw 3,500 yards, he could. But when you have a 2,000-yard running back and two, elite wide receivers that both need to get the ball, you have a tight end that needs to get the ball, you know, you pick and choose your poison on what's the best formula for winning, and running the ball was the best formula for the Eagles. So, um, and kind of my last point is the whole surrounded by talent thing. I would argue, and I said this kind of earlier about Tom Brady had, Moss and Gronk at one point, but Peyton Manning, probably regarded as one of the top 5 greatest quarterbacks of all time. Who did he have? Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison and Edgerrin James. Pretty elite talent. And the Colts usually had a pretty good defense. My cat's attacking me. Mahomes has Kelsey, really good defense. He had Tyreek for a moment. Joe Burrow, obviously, we talked about him. Most expensive wide receiver room with with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. So I think people just nitpick at this point for Jalen. The guy wins. And it's funny, I saw right before we got on here, I was watching some highlights, and someone was like, the tush push isn't the Eagles' secret weapon. It's actually this. And it was just like 3 to 4 minutes of Jalen throwing 30 to 40-yard bombs to A.J. Brown. Like they're just locked in. So they have a great connection there too. And it helps when that's your team and you watch every game in depth. But what the nitpicking on Jalen is just it's comical at this point. But I think he's done more than enough, and he's got the ring to prove it. So Jalen Hurts, after that long rant, my number 4. I'm sure as Eagles fans we won't have any arguments, but curious to see where you guys have him fall in this ranking.
No, buddy, maybe get a Gatorade.
I'm tired. I need a water.
Good talent him. I mean, we all had the same two. We knew we were gonna have the same top 5, and I think it was who's gonna blink first and where you have Hurts. I also have 4. My argument came down to 1. I mean, the argument around who's got better talent is stupid when you just decide on, but we're talking about quarterbacks that have all had success at a high level, all have good numbers, all good seasons. So the whack number did come into a big factor here.
The whack number.
I mean, we'd be an idiot to say that the offense on the Eagles isn't loaded. It is. Hurts is the reason that they win, though. But, I mean, if you took Burrow away from the Bengals, I don't think they'd win a game. I know they had a couple wide receivers, but they're terrible. The Ravens would be okay. Derrick Henry could will that team as a fringe playoff team. That's what he pretty much did his whole career in Tennessee. Chiefs would kind of stink, but Reed would win some games. And then the Bills, Nick, you said it, they're awful. Steelers might be an overstatement for them. But he isn't a good offense. In a vacuum, he's a top 5 quarterback. With this team, he's a top 5 quarterback. In whatever metric you want to use, he's a top 5 quarterback. His QBR, which I didn't want to steal your thunder, Dakota, so I saved till the end, is 65.
Thank you.
I'll have you explain on whether that's good or bad. But the guy's top 5.
Oh, that's the Russians.
Easy top 5. It's just his whack score. Split the hair from the other guys. But yeah, I echoed off all the other rambling you did.
It's just funny to me. Like when did ranking players become solely on the numbers? Like I always thought, how often do we say, it's the eye test when we do these rankings? Like, does this man not do everything that's asked of him? And every quarterback's going to have great games. Every quarterback's going to have bad games. Every quarterback's going to have mediocre games. But like, if your argument is that he didn't throw 3,000 yards, what else? And then they can't tell you anything else because they don't have anything.
To be fair, the narrative changes on what argument you want to make. If you want to go by numbers, then that's how you explain Dak Prescott's better than Jalen Hurts. If you want to go off winning, that's how Brock Purdy is better than Jalen Hurts, or at least he was last season
Mm.
or 2 seasons ago. So it all depends on what you're looking for. Justin Herbert's a better quarterback if you look solely at passing numbers the last couple seasons than Jalen Hurts. On to the top three.
Top three. Nick?
Top three. Again, once we get to this point, it's very hair splitting.
The whack number.
The whack. Got trademark that.
I will tell you, I think this player is unbelievable talent. Accolades, I think has gotten to the point of being a first ballot Hall of Famer, but is not a playoff performer, has
Wow.
never been a playoff performer. The fact that he is still yet to be to a Super Bowl is shocking to me, quite
Yeah.
frankly. For a guy who's had 6+ All Pros a number of times, 10+ Pro Bowlers a number of times over the last couple of years, and to continuously come up small in the playoffs is, to me, when I think of a quarterback who I want to lead my team, I want them
Mhm.
to be the brightest in the biggest moments. And the three best games I ever saw my number two guy play were 2 Super Bowls and a conference championship. This guy has never sniffed being able to be in that position.
Yeah.
And he's got all the regular season numbers and he's got all of those things and he's got all the highlights and he still has one of the most viral vines of all times where he stopped in high school right before the end zone
Yep.
and then like walks in.
Walked in.
And he has been an absolute G ever since. He's super fun to watch. He's a great player. I do think he'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer someday. But when I get to the splitting hairs of being a top two quarterback,
Mm.
I go to who's going to get me to the big game and who's going to win the big game. Because isn't that what all 32 teams are trying to do? And he is yet to prove he can do that. He's done everything else. And I'm going to be honest with you, if he did go this year and he wins it, that probably flips it for me, but he has not yet done that.
Mm.
So I have 5,000 all-purpose yards, Lamar Action Jackson at number 3 this year.
I also have Lamar Jackson at my number 3 spot.
No, look at that.
Yeah, I think he's very perplexing because this past season was his arguably his best season as a quarterback, strictly passing. I mean, 10.15 yards per attempt, or excuse me, adjusted yard, whatever that means. Anyways, 8.8 yards per attempt, still his career high. 41 passing touchdowns to me is fucking bonkers for him. Because he went from, 26, 16, 17, 24 to jump to 41. And it's not like he has the best receivers, but his receiving group's definitely gotten better as he's gotten older in the league. But I mean, for the most part, he had a couple years where he wasn't finishing seasons, but 16 games the year before, 17 games this year, so he's healthy, he's playing well. Um, but yeah, it is perplexing. All these accolades, all these good stats, um, continue to prove people that you are not a running back, you are a bona fide I don't want to say Hall of Fame yet, but perennial all pro quarterback, but you can't get to the big game or beat your biggest, blocking path in that game and Pat Mahomes. So it is concerning. It's weird with these AFC quarterbacks. They just cannot figure out a way to get to the end goal there. But I think Lamar is great, and I know when we first started this list, I was very apologetic about how I was wrong about Lamar coming out of college because I thought he didn't have the quarterback in him to get to that level, and he proved. I don't know if a player's ever proved me so wrong. So, but he's a beast for sure. I have him at number 3. I kind of agree that he should have won MVP again, but um, it is what it is. So, yeah, if he can get to the Super Bowl, I don't even not even win. Just if he can get to the Super Bowl, I think that'll do a good thing for his legacy. But
It's more
rings are
frustrating
important.
in the
So
playoffs than it is winning MVP. That's what it is.
yeah, well, but
All right, so this is my number 3. So this one you've both touched on, so I'm the last of the party on here. But I'm going with that our reigning MVP that you've both mentioned so much. I think again going back to the wax score, we've already hit on this a couple times. He is his team. Like that whole offense is him. Stephon Diggs is gone. James Cook did step up, but the offense line is okay. The wide receivers are garbage.
yeah, I don't. Keon
But
Coleman kind of looks eh.
you know what? To be fair to him, I had him number 4 last year, and my biggest critique of his was the dude cannot stop throwing interceptions. And he had 18 last year, and he dropped it down to 6 this year. That's a massive difference.
Yeah.
I mean, he was, again, last year was the same thing. We are splitting hairs. It was tough when we got to this point. That was my biggest gripe with him, and he dropped it significantly. Got a lot more careful with the ball. Got a lot better with his fumbles. He had a couple in the playoffs, which didn't help. But his number from last year, I think this past year, he had like 5, and the year before 7, like 13 the year before that. So, it only makes sense. Dakota doesn't like to reward people after good seasons, but when you correct your biggest issue I had from you last year, you're going to have to be moved up. So, I mean, you guys touched on a lot of it, but I think he is his offense. He dropped on his biggest issue that he's had his entire career. So it'd be insane for me not to bump him up. So I got him at number 3.
I actually haven't said Josh Allen's name yet.
Oh, okay. Apologize. I didn't realize. I thought I was.
Just me. I'm the only one who already brought him up.
You know what? 5? No, 4.
No, I am a 4.
Yeah.
On to 2.
All right.
On to 2. So I'm gonna take a leap and say that we probably all have the same number 1. And there's only 3 quarterbacks who have beaten number 1 in the playoffs. Did you know that?
That's true. Yeah.
Tom Brady,
Yep.
Joe Burrow, and 1 Jalen Hurts. Last year during this pod, I said I think Jalen could win MVP, Super Bowl, and Super Bowl MVP this year. And guess what? 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
No, pretty good.
He had 62 rushing first downs. I constantly hear about the big 4 of the Mahomes, Lamar, Josh, Burrow. Over the last 2
Mount
years,
Rushmore.
Yeah, over the last 2 years, Hurts is 5-0 against those 4. 5-0.
Yep.
And only one of those games were at home. So it's not like, because you got to play them all at the link or this. Like he only got one of those games. The other 4 were road games or neutral sites. I do think I think he gets compared to Jordan a lot because obviously he idolizes Jordan and all that. But I think his career mirrors a lot more of a Kobe Bryant. And the reason I say this is, do you know that in the three-peat the Lakers had in 2000, 01, and 02, Kobe was not the leading scorer in any of those 3 teams. Didn't lead them in any of those playoff runs. It was Shaq. You can look it up. Shaq was the
I believe
leading points per, yeah, he was the leading points per game player. So we can sit here and say, oh, it's Saquon. It takes all of them.
Yeah.
Okay, it takes everybody. Kobe had the ball in his hands a lot more. He was a killer. He wins. He won over and over and over again. The Kobe stories about his work ethic and him doing workouts before guys even showed up at Team USA and all those other things. Like Jalen continues to win, and many of these quarterbacks. I mean, to be honest, all these quarterbacks, except for really like Josh, we talk about all the other things that they have around them. But for some reason, it's Jalen who's the only one who really gets criticized for him. And
Yeah.
I know I texted in the group recently, when your first 4 years as a quarterback, when you're 100% playoff percentage, 50% Super Bowl percentage, and 25% Super Bowl winning percentage as a starter, that's damn impressive. And I will say, he said, his many quotes, but one of them that I always loved, he was like, just because we don't doesn't mean we can't.
Oh,
and
yeah.
some people say stuff like that, but his 3 best games were quite literally the 2 Super Bowls and the NFC Championship game this year. He was just possessed. and it was not the offense they ran all year. It wasn't the system. They were airing it out, doing stuff they hadn't been doing. Um, I can't imagine having anybody else under center in a must-win game. And what what kind of stinks is him getting hurt in that Washington game and them losing that game. Had that injury not happened,
Hmm.
they could have went the equivalent of a full season win streak. You realize that
Yeah.
after the bye, the only game they lost was that Washington game. Like they went on to just destroy him, and AJ Brown didn't lose a game together last year.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
that's how dominant they are. And he's still got a number of years in his prime. Um, I think, you know, there's a long way to go for him to be able to take over the top spot with what number one has already accomplished in his career.
Yeah.
But when I look at the other, three guys in the comparison, he's done it. He's been there. He's done it. I'll take the guy who get there and gets me who gets me the two Super Bowls and wins one of them over the other guys who have the flashy numbers and all these things. I'll take the guy who wins. I want the guy who wins.
Let's
And he
win.
wins.
Count on that.
I
He
mean,
wins.
we
Doesn't matter. He wins.
especially
Yeah.
after like the Rams game where people were like, how are they going to win when he's only thrown for 128 yards in the playoffs and they have to rely on Saquon? And then responded against Washington, 246 yards, a 110 passer rating, and even better in the Super Bowl when they were bottling up Saquon, 221 yards, 119 passer rating. Like it's a funny narrative for sure. Um, I think factoring in the win ability and what you all talked about, Nick, I could see your argument at two. It is tough for me to put him there, but I don't hate it. Um, but yeah, I mean we love Jalen, so but he's definitely hard to evaluate for stuff like this when his stats are so heavily involved, but the dude just wins. And I think he's the only one to beat because wasn't Lamar like undefeated against the NFC and his only loss was like to the Eagles and Jalen?
I believe so.
Yeah, it's like 14-1 and the one was the Jalen Hurts. But
It's a good number one. Good first loss to have.
yeah. Um
Jalen also has the most rushing yards in the Super Bowl, and he broke his own record from the last Super Bowl. And he also has the highest completion percentage ever in the Super Bowl. So he's pretty good.
Yeah,
he's got
definitely not bad.
he's got
Yeah.
he's got some pretty good stats.
At this point, anyone hating, like it's like clever how far out of their way they have to go. Like that's what I find is the biggest compliment is like these people are just going out of their way just to find ridiculous things to hate on.
Yeah. Actually, fun fact, I saw this stat the other day, last thing on Jalen. Um, Career records when throwing the ball 30 times in a game. Mahomes is 66 and 22. He's a bit of an outlier because he's different. Jalen, 21 and 9. Josh Allen, 41 and 24. Lamar, 19 and 15. Joe Burrow, 28, 25 and 1. So when they ask him to throw it, he wins games. So, but yeah, my number two, I'm not going to really talk too much about him because you guys have, I think, covered most of the bases, but I'll just say why I had him at two over four and a three. I have Josh Allen at number two. And honestly, I think it has to do with when do I think he should have gotten MVP over Lamar? No, based on what Lamar was doing this year. Lamar had an insane year. But to me, MVP is the most valuable player, but the most valuable player to your team. And I think beyond my number one guy, I think he is the most important quarterback to their team because, like you said, Nick, that team it looks a lot better than it is because of how good he plays when he needs to. He reminds me of like when I watch Josh Allen, I feel like I'm watching like a backyard football game. Like he'll just do whatever like he'll, dive, and I'm sure as like a coach, they're like, please don't put yourself in danger. But, he'll jump over players. He'll dive into the end zone for, a 2-point conversion when they're up by like 14 points. Like he'll do all the little things that he has to in order to win. Well, he'll if he has to run, he'll run. If he has to throw, if he has to, I don't see him blocking as much as I do like a Baker Mayfield when Baker goes out there and starts putting hands on people. But I think Josh's impact to his team is one of the greatest on our list here. And I think, like you were saying, if there was another quarterback on that team, I don't think they would be that team would be in the playoffs every year like they are. So, like I said, not too much on Josh. I think he's a little bit beyond stats guy, kind of like how we talked about all the things that Jalen can do. That's beyond inflated passing numbers. Um, I think Josh does a lot of things great, and even still, a somewhat down year as a passer, still had a 101 QB rating, which pretty good in my book. So. But yeah, I think he's him and my number one guy are they are the reason their teams are so good, and so I have him at number two.
Well, my number two is, I mean, I'm on my island here because you two both were early on him.
Yeah.
I'm going with Joe Burrow, of course.
Oh,
Now, Joe Burrow, I get it. I totally admit he's polarizing. It seems odd to have a guy who was 9-8 over the MVP, the three-time MVP, or the first team All-Pro and Super Bowl winner of last year. But the guy, talk about a whack score. This guy, for pretty much his whole career, I think he's just completely outperformed what Kirk Cousins could have done. I know they started slow, but he
Kirk
also
Cousins catching strays.
I mean, they started slow because the guy missed all of training camp, all of offseason with an injury. Jamar Chase was holding out. T. Higgins missed like 5 or 6 games this season. That team was awful. Their offensive line was Swiss cheese as per usual. They had no run game. They got rid of Mixon. Zach Stacy, I think, was the guy in the beginning of the year, and then he got hurt, and they were stuck with a mediocre third down only running back in Chase Brown.
Sidney Brown's brother.
Shout out to Sidney Brown. And yeah, I know he threw a lot, but he had the quarterback triple crown. Did have led the league with 652 attempts. Needed to because they needed to try to win with that defense. Had 460 completions. I mean, I was gassing up Golf and Baker for having 70% completion percentage. Joe Burrow had a 70% completion percentage with 652 passes. Even better, Joe Burrow has got the highest completion percentage ever for a career with, minimum, I think 1,500 attempts or whatever it is. But high, and you think, wow, Joe Burrow's played on some bad teams and some Swiss cheese offensive lines. Got his good wide receivers, but still impressive. He had nearly 5,000 yards passing, 43 touchdowns, all league highs, yada, yada, yada. But I mean, take him in a vacuum, ignore the rest of his team. The guy comes up in big moments when he's gotten little help. He's 196 sacks in his career. Over 69 games that he's played, that's like, nearly 3 sacks every single game he's played in his entire career. The fact that he's seen any success is pretty impressive. Looking into some of the stuff he dealt with this year, I mean, he lost every single one of these games. He scored 38 points. He scored 34 points. He scored 33 points. He scored 38 points again. Lost every single one of those games. Those scores were all higher than anything the Kansas City Chiefs put up. The Chiefs put up 30 twice last year. Granted, I know some of those games weren't close, but Burrow was pretty much in that game every single game last week was, I'm going to have to just sling it, hope for the best. I know Chase is great. He did get the triple crown. But T. Higgins missed time. That team's in trouble. If he could ever just be healthy, I don't even think you need too much around him. Get him Chase, get him Higgins, let him stay healthy. The offensive line is optional. Defense also optional, a little bit better than the garbage can they were last year, and they're going to win. I just think in a vortex, he's any quarter, like what you want. He's the cool and clutch version of Justin Herbert. He puts up stats. He could win an actual game. He's had very little help. But I mean, the fact that this guy can throw the ball 652 times after getting sacked pretty much nonstop for 4 straight years and keep doing it is impressive. But yeah, I mean, a lot of injuries hurt that team. The defense was a joke last year. I expect them to be much better. The wide receivers aren't holding out. He's healthy so far, knock on wood. They got Shamar Stewart into training camp. Henderson's holding out, so
Took long
God,
enough.
what happens there. But hey, maybe he'll just have to win half those games. He put up 30 plus points instead of lose all of them.
I mean, the Bengals are a team that gets in their own way when trying to build a
Oh,
championship
constantly.
roster. But
Talk about bad ownership, man. That team,
yeah,
that whole organization from top to bottom is a train wreck. And Joe Burrow is the type of player that came and fixed a lot of things that they had going wrong.
yeah. No, I mean, I'm with you on the whole. He's putting up 30 plus point games in order to keep up with his terrible defense. But I think he also falls into like the Lamar and Josh conversation too. Is like that's all great, but like when are you gonna? I mean, he wasn't a Super Bowl his second season, so
He
I think
catch
that's
Mahomes in the playoffs.
yeah. I mean, it's definitely
Three.
impressive, but
And you could say, you know what? Oh, he hasn't done it again. He hasn't been in the playoffs again to give him another chance at it. Allen and Lamar, I think, both have had multiple chances. I mean,
yeah.
I don't, I'm not saying it, but Hurts even got a second chance to go beat him. Burrow had his first and pretty much his only, and he knocked him down.
Yeah.
Now, great. I'm not going to say, yeah, Joe Burrow's going to win the Super Bowl and knock off the Chiefs. We need to see the team a little bit better. But I mean, he's put him in the playoffs. He's proven it. Put him in any situation, he shows up. Guy gets beaten and battered with a very limited team outside of an unhealthy wide receiver and then an elite superstar.
Oh, I mean, he definitely gets right into the ice bath after every game because he's just on the ground all the
Just
time.
career.
Um, yeah, I think with these 2 to 5 ranked play like quarterbacks, I think it's very dependent on not only what they do statistically, but how their team performs. So, I mean, if the Bengals had made the playoffs and done something, I think he would have been much higher for me. But I think just it's hard to. I don't want to deck him for not having the best team, but it definitely impacts. I
I
think a
mean, you
little bit.
compared him to Carson Palmer. I had to bite my tongue on that one. I had to wait all the way to 2 to
I
top
mean,
that.
it's not a horrible
It's an
comparison.
awful comparison.
I don't ever remember Carson Palmer being a top 5 quarterback.
No, I would say maybe top
insane.
10, but
The guy was
I don't know.
robbed at like gunpoint or whatever, and you are probably his biggest enemy from this past year, just because you compared him to Carson Palmer. But I think that wraps up the 2 to 5. So I think we start the Patrick Mahomes circle jerk now. On Nick, you have the floor. I'll let you go first.
So it's gonna be hard for anybody to come take this spot for their foreseeable future,
Yeah.
if we're being honest. What he has done in his career, I mean, he didn't even play an AFC championship game on the road until last year. Like this guy, just every year they're either going to the conference championship or the Super Bowl year after year after year. And quite frankly, he's doing it with a worse and worse set of weapons. At first, when he had Hill and everything else, like when a younger Kelsey, he had a top receiver, he had a tight end. Now, I mean, he brought that offense this year to the Super Bowl, and they didn't have. I mean, they had an old Kelsey, couldn't move, no Rashee Rice because he
Mhm.
gets injured, um, a bunch of wide receiver 3s and 4s, um, supreme talent, phenomenal to watch, is constantly. And again, this is what I talked about with number 2, is when you're gonna pick a quarterback, you want a guy who's gonna get you to the big game, and you want him to win it. And he gets you to the big game more often than he doesn't. Getting close to the Tom Brady status with that, where he makes Super Bowl more often than he doesn't. And I would say if he can, he is the first quarterback who has a legitimate shot at someday being the GOAT. I'm still giving it to Brady because
Mhm.
seven rings over 3 different decades with 2 different teams
Yeah.
is
Plus, you know
just
what?
just
The hard part of
remarkable.
that is no matter what, you can't compare narrows, but Brady has beaten Mahomes twice. I know. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
with you. Brady's always gonna be the guy, but Mahomes will give him a fighting shot. But that will be the tough part for me to overlook.
Yeah, I
yeah. I
mean,
mean,
He's got
Right.
better numbers than Brady before they turned 30. His numbers are better. But I mean, Brady was, I think, better in the second part of his career as he got older. But
Brady has two different Hall of Fame careers.
Yeah.
Like he won three Super Bowls,
and then
then
took
went a
10 years off.
then won a decade.
Crazy.
Meanwhile, went to two more in between,
Hmm.
won another 3 and 5 years, went to a new team, brought that team to the Super Bowl and won it the first year.
Yeah.
So, if he can manage to wrangle up a couple, but Mahomes is the only quarterback I'd even entertain the conversation who could ever be in it with Brady. Um, so he's still so young. Like he's got years ahead of him, and he's got time. I will say though, I'm gonna say it now. I think this version of the Chiefs is about to take a step back over the next 2 to 3 years, and I
Soft
think,
rebuild.
yeah, like not like they're still gonna win 10, 11 games. Um, but I do think it's the time where either Lamar or Joe or Josh gets over the hump
Mm,
and starts kind of taking them out because I don't find that offense to be. I mean, it's him, and when you've got him, you've always got a chance. I watched Brady
Yeah.
bring some subpar offenses
yep.
to
Very
Super
true.
Bowls, um, but I do think they're a gettable team right now. And I do think that what happened in the Super Bowl did make those other teams look at them as like they're no longer Thanos. Um,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, so I can I can see this being the start of not a downfall because they're still going to win games.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's out in the second round type coming up.
Mm.
Fair, the career arc
It,
would match this almost in a way. The Bucks beat the Chiefs badly in the Super Bowl, and they did it with a similar recipe we just used. Just attack Mahomes and break him in half. They dropped 1 year. Joe Burrow had his moment, and then they were right back on top, better than ever.
Yeah. I mean, there's really not much like to say about Mahomes, even in a down, quote unquote, down season. I mean, still threw for almost 4,000 yards, 26 touchdowns. I mean, 11 picks, whatever. But um, he's no matter what, I don't know if I've ever been in a position where I'm like, wow, he's not gonna be able to win you this game, or he wouldn't be like the number one guy. I'd say I want him on the field when I need to run down the field and score to tie or to take the lead. Um, he's just been a different kind of like how some of these players like prime Derrick Henry and not from Earth type of players. It's just what he's able to do, especially with the talent at times. Like, was it the Super Bowl against I think either last year or one of the other Super Bowls? He had like the most drops by a wide receiver group in like the history of the league. It was like he was doing everything he could. And you take away his weapons like Tyreek Hill, and he still finds ways to win. Um, he is this decade's Tom Brady. There's really no any list that doesn't have him as number one is just invalid because it just doesn't. It's if you're going by numbers, it's one thing, but the dude, just like we are saying about Jalen, the dude wins. Like Mahomes is a proven winner, and
I
he has
mean,
a
yeah,
great
it's
coach too.
tough
So
to you comparing him to Brady. I mean, you could put his 7 years of being a starter up against any Brady 7 years, and more often than not, from a 7 year stretch, Mahomes is going to probably beat him. But I
Mhm.
mean, yeah, the 5 of his 7 years as a starter, he's made it to the Super Bowl. We can give him a
Mhm.
pass on the first one, I guess, because he did set every passing record imaginable.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, 3 out of 5 in the Super Bowl is definitely not bad. We've seen him bring a whole bunch of ragtag squad farther, and I mean, his whack score is incredible for his career. Like he's been that team. Like I that first dynasty of the Patriots, I think they could have probably won maybe not all three, but they could have won one or two if they didn't have
mhm.
Tom Brady with the defense. There's no way a single one of these Super Bowls even gets sniffed without Patrick Mahomes on that team. He is
Yeah.
so vital to them.
Yeah,
But I mean, yeah, that's kind of everything I have that you guys haven't touched. I mean, he's one. And we'll see, man, if maybe opens the door next year. Who knows? But all I know is beating Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs is more valuable than an MVP nowadays.
Yeah, it is an MVP in itself.
It is.
But all right, I think overall good list. Not too much debate. I mean, it's hard to. We all kind of had the same players, just in different orders. So it really is your own preference and kind of how they played this year. But
I mean, I think the highly contested thing was Carson Palmer being compared to Joe Burrow. That one will live on for me.
sleep on that tonight. Think about it.